Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Team Not Water Sampling podcast. Today, I have with me Cameron from our team to discuss our OSV.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So today, we're going to be talking about modeling our OSV and the challenges that come with it. So could you tell us all a couple examples of the design gaps that our team still needs to address?
So, right now, by nearing the end of the build phase, we found that our OSV was a bit overweight. So we had to cut it down a bit so that we could fit the weight requirements. A lot of what was left was very necessary, so we decided we had to cut down on some of the structural components of the OSV. So with that, our OSV is now a bit less stable than it was before, but now it meets the requirements.
Great. Thanks for your answer. Another question that we have is, what would you consider the biggest design flaw in our final product, and what possible errors might have led to that design flaw?
Right now, I'd say our biggest design flaw comes in two major parts. The first element is that our goal was to take in the entire body of water to get the sample and so that we can analyze it properly. However, we didn't realize that by using a pump to try to get this sample, it wouldn't get all the water. It would require us to move around the entire bottom of the pool and a lot of stuff that we aren't able to do with the current project that we have. So with that means some water is left behind in the pool, which means that the total volume that we collect would be slightly off. So we'd either have to adjust it after the fact, or just take that as a error in the final volume we collected, which would then impact our final depth that we would calculate. In a similar sense, the flow rate sensor also is a bit finicky. It reads some weird values sometimes. So with those, it makes it so that finding the depth of the pool probably our most finicky mission requirement.
So you might have touched on this somewhat already with the flow sensor that you were talking about, but another question that we have is, at the beginning of the semester, we did all these calculations and all these brainstormings in order to come up with feasible ideas to make our OSV get to the mission site and then complete the mission objectives. When transitioning from the theoretical to the actual performance of the OSV, what do you think some performance issues were that we didn't see in the theoretical period of calculation?
In the theoretical calculations, I'd say the biggest thing we overlooked in that sense, I guess you could say, is turning. Because when we did the original motor calculations, we calculated with maximum weight, all that, the typical stuff, and we found that the motors that we decided were best for the job was a 2.4 kilogram force per centimeter torque motors. And while they were perfectly fine for linear motion, they got through the rocket terrain and sand just fine. When it came to turning, they just weren't strong enough. They'd get stuck. And that was probably because of other factors, which could be the variable weight. It could be how the motion of the motors just counteracted each other, therefore making them weaker, unable to get through the sand. Or it could be how simply the sand buildup from turning causes it to not be as effective. In any case, those weaker motors weren't sufficient, so once we switched to a 6 kilogram force centimeters torque motors, then that was able to get us to turn, although that happened much later in the process.
Okay, well, thank you for your input, Cameron, and we will see you guys on the next episode.